Welcome to the third week of our series called Great Expectations. Life has a way of trying to get us to lower our expectations, encourage us to take on a "I'll believe it when I see it" kind of attitude about life. The enemy would love for us to go around every day planning for the worst, just trying to get by, holding no hope for the future. But in this series, we're inviting you to see with new eyes, to expand your vision and believe again in the God who does exceedingly more than we ask or imagine. God is calling you higher. He's taking you to new places. He's putting a fresh vision in your spirit. And trusting in God is not always easy. It takes commitment, devotion, sacrifice, and sometimes even a leap of faith. But as we talked about in the first week of the series, every time you say yes to God, you're making the best investment of your life. And you can expect a far greater return in the end. And yes, there will be times when you have to face hardships, a cross, so to speak, a cross that comes into your life. But even then, as we said last week, God has the remedy that you need to get back up on your feet and move forward with your life again. And when you refuse to run away from that problem, but instead pick up the cross, your cross, and follow after Jesus, that's when you will see and can expect victory instead of defeat. Today I want to talk with you about another great expectation. I want to talk with you today about expect opportunity. We all want to move forward, take new ground, see greater levels and promotion in our lives, but some people go about it the wrong way. They strive and strain, they manipulate things, take advantage of other people. Everything is about them, their goals, their ambitions, their advancement. This is what the prophet Amos was warning the people about in the first reading today. He lived during a time of great prosperity and stability in the northern kingdom of Israel. The nation's borders had grown larger, they had taken more land, trade was booming, and the economy was on the rise. But just beneath the surface, things weren't good. The rich took advantage of the poor. There was widespread corruption. Merchants were cheating their own customers. Judges tilted the scales of justice in favor of the elite and powerful. Everywhere you looked, the vulnerable were being pushed down, while the wealthy were living it up. Amos kept warning the people about the dangers of what they were doing. He kept reminding them that God saw everything. He was watching, and he would never forget any of those injustices. Amos said, "Judgment Day is on the way." Now, there's a right way to rise higher and a wrong way. The wrong way is what Amos saw, people trying to get what they want by any means possible. And sometimes it's easy to slip into that mode, isn't it, when we see people around us doing the same thing. Maybe you're under pressure at work to succeed, to perform, to show results, and so you're tempted to skew the reports a little bit, cut corners, make yourself look better than you are, and fudge the numbers a little bit, instead of trusting God to take you higher. Or maybe you've been looking for a spouse for such a long time and no one is coming into your life, or no one right, and you're tempted to kind of lower your standards, settle for less, compromise, instead of trusting God to bring the right person at the right time. Or maybe for those of you who are parents, and I mean no disrespect, but maybe there are some of you who are maybe pushing your kids a little bit too hard, signing them up for every kind of sport, music, ballet, endless after-school activities, sometimes even taking them away from Mass on Sundays, wanting them to be someone maybe they're not, instead of letting them find their own way and becoming the person God created them to be. We tell ourselves, okay, this is the way the world works. I got to do it this way. Or I'm just going to do it this one time because I really need it. Or this is what is best for my family, so I'm going to compromise a little bit here or there. And sometimes it can look like it's working, but then it never lasts. You can't force success. You can't control the outcome. God's way is better. God's way is better. When you honor Him, when you stay faithful, he will take you higher than you could ever take yourself. This is what Jesus meant in today's gospel when he said, the person who is trustworthy in very small matters is also trustworthy in great ones. And the person who is dishonest in very small matters is also dishonest in great ones. If therefore you are not trustworthy with ordinary wealth, who will trust you with not ordinary wealth? If therefore you are not trustworthy with dishonest wealth, and I'm going to explain that in a minute, if you are not trustworthy with dishonest wealth, who will give you true wealth? And if you are not trustworthy with what belongs to another, who will give you what is yours? Now, by dishonest wealth, Jesus was not speaking about ill-gotten gains or fraud or corruption, stealing. Dishonest wealth is a translation issue. He was really just speaking about ordinary money. Mammon, as he calls it in the gospel. Ordinary money, material possessions, the good things in life you and I enjoy. He was saying that how we handle today's responsibilities with the resources we have been given, our time, our finances, the relationships we've been entrusted with, the talents that we have, is preparing us for the greater opportunities that God has waiting for us. And when we're faithful in the small things, in little things, then God will trust us with bigger things. 8 years ago, I was 50 pounds overweight. Wasn't eating healthy, wasn't working out. I was just basically letting myself go. A friend of mine lit a fire under me, and I decided to go back to the gym. At first, it wasn't easy, making the time, driving there, finding the motivation. Thoughts kept telling me, what do you think you're doing? You're never going to lose that much weight. You're going to look like a fool, expending all that effort, and nothing's going to happen. But that's when I made up my mind. I wasn't going to focus on how many pounds I was dropping or measure how many inches were coming off my waist week after week. I knew those kind of unrealistic expectations were just a setup for failure. So instead of worrying about the scale or obsessing about looking for tiny little signs of progress, I just decided to concentrate on following my workout routine. That's it, not worrying about the outcome. Well, nothing happened after the first month, or the second, or the fourth, or the fifth. But I kept being faithful, kept going, doing what I was supposed to do. And somewhere around the 6th month, that's when I started to see results. The weight was coming off, my body felt stronger, I was healthier. And today, you can't see it under these robes, but you are looking at 175 pounds of pure steel. Why are you laughing? Anyway, I think sometimes we focus too much on results, on getting what we want, right? We can become so performance-driven, so goal-oriented, that we actually block our own growth. The second reading today says that we should lead a quiet and tranquil life in all devotion and dignity. Paul doesn't say we should be running around, spending our lives scrambling for success, clamoring to climb the corporate ladder, pushing for promotion. Frankly, it's just a bad look. It seems so desperate, and it just ends in heartbreak in the end. But when you stay steady, consistent day after day, working hard, quietly doing the right thing, living a life of integrity and faithfulness, even when no one is watching, that's when God can trust you with more. A tranquil life doesn't mean a small, ordinary, or unremarkable life. It means a rooted life, a grounded life. Like a huge redwood tree, you can't grow higher unless your roots first grow deeper. And a quiet life of dignity and devotion to God, it's the seedbed of success. It is where promotion begins. And when you live a life like that, you're not caught up in all that or being pulled apart by all that distraction and drama and compromising that comes with when you try to force a situation or when you try to forge your own path to success. When you turn down the volume of ambition and striving and just do the right thing and stick to a steady rhythm of daily faithfulness, that's when your heart is open to God's wisdom. And as you grow in wisdom, you grow in spiritual maturity. And that's when God knows He can trust you with more responsibility, more influence, more opportunity. A friend of mine grew up very poor. He was one of 8 children living in a one-room shack with a dirt floor in a small town in the high desert of southeast Oregon. All the kids slept on makeshift bunk beds in the garage with no heat. During the wintertime, the snow would blow underneath the garage door. It was so cold. There also was no indoor plumbing, only an outhouse that he would have to change and clean every week. His father was a severe alcoholic, couldn't hold down a job more than a few months at a time. All the circumstances said that my friend would never make it out of that town, never make anything of himself, never be successful in life. He would just become another statistic, another sad story, another down and out young man with no job, no money, no opportunity, no future. But my friend, his name was David, he just kept being his best. Tried to do what he could, tried to help his 7 brothers and sisters. He made sure that they got to church on Sundays, wore the right clothes, had what they needed. During the week, he would go through the town and collect hand-me-downs from other families and then pass them down to his own siblings. He cared for them without fanfare or seeking recognition. And then one day, a faithful couple just down the road who couldn't have children of their own invited David over after school. And he started coming every day. And every day they would feed him, they would give him what they could, and they would help him with his homework. Day after day, they lifted him up. They poured into him, invested in David because they could see his potential, and they believed in him. Well, David kept working, kept studying, kept doing the right thing. He became a straight A student, was elected the student body president of his high school, went on to college with a full scholarship to the University of Oregon. God was moving in David's life, opening the right doors and lifting him higher, taking him to higher places. And after college, he went to work. He started his career slowly working his way up from an entry-level position to greater and greater responsibility. And just like that young couple back in Oregon, the higher-ups of that company saw great promise in David. And so he kept advancing, getting promotion after promotion. But like his father, David struggled with drinking. Year after year, he kept trying to break the addiction, but nothing worked. The people at his job had no idea what he was going through. And then one night, he hit rock bottom. God finally broke through the defenses, broke through the pain, broke through that nagging feeling he had, that no matter how far he got, no matter how high he rose, he would never really escape that small town, would never really get out of poverty, would never really make anything great of himself. And in that moment, David fell on his knees and begged God for help. He admitted that he was powerless, desperate, and had nowhere else to go. After that, he got help. He leaned into his faith and never took another drink. And that's when the floodgates opened. That's when God opened the floodgates. David's star started rising even higher. One day he got a phone call out of the blue from a Fortune 500 company offering him the top job, President and Chief Executive Officer. He had a long and illustrious career in that position. Several years ago, David O'Connor passed away, but not without leaving behind a powerful legacy in his family, in his profession, in the world, and in this parish. Longtime leader of our men's fellowship scripture group, one of the 2 longest running small groups in our parish. Head of the lector ministry for many, many years, wisdom figure to the younger generation, inspiration for one of our major scholarships at our parish school, a man who touched so many people in so many ways. From humble beginnings, David became a man of great influence and impact on this earth. And he did not force it. He did not push for it. He did not chase after it. He just kept doing what he was supposed to do, being his best, living a life of honesty, and honoring God every day by leading a quiet and tranquil life in all devotion and dignity. In all devotion and dignity. And because he was trustworthy in small matters, God entrusted David with more, much, much more. Don't allow yourself to ever be tempted in whatever situation you find yourself in to try to make things happen on your own, to try to control or force the situation and compromise your values. You may feel stuck in a small role, or like nobody's listening to you, being overlooked, but God sees your faithfulness. And every time you do the right thing, every time you honor him in the small details, you are sowing seeds of greatness. And at the right time, God will open the right doors for you, whatever they happen to be. Expand influence in whatever sphere he wants you to have influence in, and to bring increase into your life, whether it's at your work, in your family, your faith, or in just your personal happiness. When you're faithful in the small things, God will take you to new things, bigger heights, greater things. And what looks like maybe is not working right now, like it's really small right now, is just a stepping stone to something much bigger. Because when you're trustworthy in the little things, when you give God your best right where you are, you can expect more blessings, new opportunities, greater influence. You can expect unexpected opportunity.